So, you spend 40 years grinding at a job, you skip the daily latte, you drive the same Toyota Corolla until the odometer rolls over like a slot machine, you max out your 401k every year, you eat enough rice and beans to qualify for honorary Costa Rican citizenship, and finally, you make it to retirement. You sit down on the porch, you crack open a cold one, you think to yourself, I did it, I'm free, the hard part is over, and then the mail comes. Because here's the dirty little secret about retirement. You don't stop spending money. In a lot of cases, you spend more. The bills don't retire when you do. Your roof doesn't care that you're 67. So today, I'm going to walk you through the 5 biggest areas retirees actually spend their money on, not the fairy tale version, the real numbers, the real categories, and the real reasons your retirement budget might be in for a plot twist. If you're 5 years out, 10 years out, or already living the dream and wondering where it all went, this video is for you. Quick disclaimer before we dive in, I'm not your financial advisor. I'm just a guy on the internet with strong opinions and a screen. Always do your own research. Cool? Cool. Now let's talk about where the money actually goes. Spending category number 1, the king of the hill, the heavyweight champion, the absolute beast that eats more of your retirement budget than anything else is housing. I know what some of you are thinking, but I paid off my mortgage in 2019. I do a little dance every month when no payment comes out of my account. Housing is handled. And I love that for you. I really do. But I need you to sit down for this next part. Because housing is not just your mortgage. Housing is a hydra. You cut off one head and 3 more pop up demanding money. Even if you own your home free and clear, you've still got property taxes, and property taxes don't care about your fixed income. In a lot of states, those things have been climbing faster than a squirrel that just spotted a Rottweiler. You've got homeowners insurance, which, depending on where you live, may now cost more than your first car. You've got HOA fees if you're in one of those neighborhoods where the lawn police drive by in a golf cart and judge your hedges. And then there's maintenance. Oh, maintenance. The general rule is that you should budget about 1 to 4% of your home's value every single year for upkeep. On a $400,000 house, that's anywhere from $4,000 to $16,000 a year. The roof needs replacing. The water heater dies, usually at 2 a.m. on a Sunday during a snowstorm, because water heaters have a sense of humor. The HVAC system makes a noise that can only be described as haunted. The driveway cracks, the fence leans, the fridge starts making ice that tastes vaguely like onions even though nobody can explain why. And if you rent in retirement, which a growing number of retirees do, you're looking at landlords who in many parts of the country are raising rents every single year like clockwork. On average, housing eats up somewhere around 30 to 35% of the typical retiree's annual budget. It is, by a country mile, the biggest line item. So, before you retire, do me a favor. Actually sit down and write out every single housing-related expense, not just the mortgage, but the taxes, the insurance, the utilities, the maintenance, the HOA, the squirrels got into the attic again, repair. Total it up. That number is your real housing cost. Coming in at number 2, and this one always surprises people, is transportation. I know. Maddie, I'm retired. I'm not commuting anymore. I traded my car for a recliner and a remote. Transportation costs should go down. And you'd think that, but here's where reality slaps you across the face like a wet fish. Yes, you're not commuting 45 minutes each way to a cubicle. That's a win. But retirees actually drive more than you think. You're going to doctor's appointments. And trust me, you might have a lot of doctor's appointments. There's the cardiologist, the optometrist, the dentist, the dermatologist, the guy who looks at that weird mole on your back, the lady who tells you to stretch more, and the specialist whose name you can't pronounce, but whose copay you definitely can't ignore. You're visiting the grandkids, you're driving to the grocery store, the pharmacy, the hardware store, the other hardware store because the first hardware store didn't have the specific kind of weird washer you needed. You're doing road trips because flights are getting more expensive, and frankly, TSA stresses you out.
And the costs are not what they used to be. Auto insurance, even for an older driver with a clean record, keeps climbing. Gas prices do that little dance where they go up fast and come down slow, like a kid sneaking back inside past curfew. Maintenance on an older vehicle isn't cheap. New tires, new brakes, new battery, the catalytic converter that some guy stole from your Prius in the Cracker Barrel parking lot. And here's the kicker. At some point, you're going to need to replace the car. Most cars last about 10 to 15 years. If you retire at 65 and live to 90, that's potentially 2 or 3 more vehicles you're going to have to buy. And cars right now? Whew. The average new car payment in the United States is well over $700 a month, with sticker prices that look like the GDP of a small island nation. On average, retirees spend somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 17% of their annual budget on transportation. That's not nothing. That's a meaningful chunk of change. My advice? If you've got a reliable car when you retire, drive that thing into the ground. Drive it like it owes you money. Every year you can squeeze out of an existing vehicle is a year you don't have to write a check that makes your eye twitch. Number 3, and brace yourself because this one's been getting brutal, is food. If you've been to a grocery store any time in the last 3 years, I don't need to tell you what's going on. I went to buy a cart of basics the other day. Just basics. Eggs, bread, milk, some chicken, a few vegetables, a little fruit, and what I considered to be a reasonable amount of cheese. I walked out with 2 bags and a receipt that looked like a mortgage statement. Eggs were like a luxury item for a while there. Olive oil started getting locked behind glass. I'm half expecting them to start putting cucumbers in those little anti-theft cases next. For retirees, food is a bigger deal than people realize. You're not eating cafeteria lunches anymore. You're not grabbing the free office coffee. Every single meal is on you. 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. That's over 1,000 meals annually, per person. Now multiply that by 2 if you're a couple. You start to see why this category gets so big. And it's not just groceries. Retirees often have more time on their hands, which means more lunches out with friends, more breakfast at the diner because, hey, you've earned it, more date nights because the kids are finally out of the house and you can actually hear each other talk again, more vacations, which means more vacation meals, which always cost about 3 times what they should because the menu is tourist priced and the burger comes with one single artisan pickle that costs $9 by itself. On average, food eats up about 12 to 13% of a retiree's budget, and it's been climbing. Grocery inflation has outpaced general inflation in a lot of recent years, and that hits fixed-income households harder than it hits working folks. Here's a quick tip that genuinely saves people money. Meal planning. I know it sounds boring, I know it sounds like something your aunt who color codes her pantry would do, but planning out your week's meals, shopping with a list, and using what you've already got in the fridge before buying more, that alone can shave 15, 20, even 30% off your grocery bill. That's real money. Also, learn to love your slow cooker. Your slow cooker is your friend. Your slow cooker has never let you down. Your slow cooker will not betray you. 4. Healthcare. All right, here we go. This is the one I told you to wait for. Number 4, the big bad wolf of retirement spending, the category that single-handedly bankrupts more retirees than anything else on this list. Now, on paper, healthcare doesn't look like the biggest line item. On average, it's about 13 to 15% of the typical retiree's budget. That sounds manageable, right? Less than housing, about the same as food, but here's why it deserves its own dramatic music sting. Healthcare is the most unpredictable expense in retirement. Housing, pretty steady. Food, pretty steady. Transportation, pretty steady. Healthcare? Healthcare laughs at your spreadsheet. One bad fall, one unexpected diagnosis, one surgery, one stay in a skilled nursing facility, one round of physical therapy, one medication that costs $3,000 a month and doesn't have a generic. Suddenly, the line item that was 13% of your budget is 70%, and you're staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. wondering how this happened.
People hear, I'm on Medicare, I'm covered, and they think they've crossed the finish line. Medicare is great. Medicare is a wonderful program, but Medicare doesn't cover everything. There are premiums, there are deductibles, there are co-insurance amounts. There's Part B, which is not free. There's Part D for prescriptions, which is also not free. There's the donut hole, which sounds delicious but is in fact the opposite of delicious. There's dental, which Medicare basically doesn't cover. Vision, also barely covered. Hearing aids, which can run $3,000 to $6,000 a pair and last about 5 years before you need new ones. And then there's the elephant in the room, long-term care. The national average for a private room in a nursing home is now well over $100,000 a year. A year! Memory care can be even more, and Medicare does not cover long-term care in any meaningful way. That's not what it's for. So you're looking at either paying out of pocket, which can drain a nest egg in 2 or 3 years, or qualifying for Medicaid, which has very strict asset requirements, or buying long-term care insurance, which, depending on when you buy it, can cost $3,000 to $5,000 a year in premiums. I'm not saying this to worry you. I'm saying this because the people who plan for healthcare costs 10 or 20 years before retirement are the ones who don't end up making impossible decisions at age 80. If you take one thing away from this video, let it be this. Do not assume Medicare is enough. Build a healthcare cushion separately. Know what supplemental insurance options exist, and at least think about a long-term care plan, even if you ultimately decide self-insuring is the right call for you. Number 5, and this is the fun one, the one you've been working 40 years to actually enjoy, is entertainment, travel, and lifestyle. This is the line item where you finally cash in. This is the cruise to Alaska. This is the RV trip through the national parks. This is the season tickets to your team. This is the new set of golf clubs that you absolutely did not need but absolutely deserve. This is the cooking class with your spouse. This is the trip to see the grandkids in California, then the other grandkids in North Carolina, then somehow ending up in Cabo because we were halfway there anyway. For most retirees, this category runs about 6 to 10% of the annual budget, but it can run a lot higher in the early years of retirement. If you've got a big bucket list, the math actually supports doing the expensive stuff earlier in retirement. You'll never have more energy or fewer aches than you do at 66. That cross-country motorcycle trip is going to feel a lot different at 82. And let's be honest, entertainment isn't just travel. It's streaming services. The streaming bundle has quietly become the new cable bill, and I'm pretty sure half of us aren't even watching most of these things. Audit your subscriptions once a year, just once. Sit down with a cup of coffee, pull up your credit card statement, and circle every recurring charge. You will find at least one thing you forgot you were paying for, I guarantee it. That's free money you're handing over for like an app you use twice. But the bigger picture here is don't be so afraid of spending in retirement that you don't actually live. I've seen people who saved their entire lives, made it to retirement with a beautiful nest egg, and then were so terrified of running out of money that they didn't spend a dime. They ate beans on a Tuesday night while sitting on $1 million. That's not a win. That's not the plan working. That's the plan winning while you lose. The goal isn't to die with the most money. The goal is to die with enough money and to have actually used the money you had along the way to build a life you enjoyed. So, here's where I leave you. Retirement isn't a finish line. It's a 30-year project with a budget attached, and the people who pull it off without the 3 a.m. panic sweats aren't the ones who got lucky. They're the ones who looked at these expenses honestly, did the math, and built a plan that accounted for real life instead of brochure life. If this video gave you something to chew on, tap the like. And I'm genuinely curious which of these 5 categories is keeping you up at night. Drop it in the comments. I read every single one, and sometimes the best video ideas come straight from what you guys are wrestling with. If you're not subscribed yet, fix that. There's a whole library on this channel covering Social Security claiming, the 4% rule, Roth conversions, and how to actually draw down your accounts without setting off a tax bomb. Take care of yourself, take care of your money, and I'll catch you in the next one.